Hi, my name's Tony. We're here to do a couple of quick recipes, Asian inspired obviously, here at Sunnybank Plaza. So the first one we're going to do is going to be a beef and ginger tomato. I already have my rice on at a very low heat waiting to boil because that's going to take the longest to do. So in the meantime we're going to prepare our beef. I have a beautiful piece here of rump steak, and all we need to do, leave the fat on, only a minimal amount of fat on rump steak, and we're just slicing it as finely, thinly as possible. So this recipe can be done in multiples. I'm just doing this enough for 2 people today, but obviously you just add more beef and it's good. So thinly slice that. I'm going to dust it in the smallest amount of rice flour. So that's about half a teaspoon for 2 people. And all we're going to do is just lightly dust it, give it a bit of a sprinkle. Now we need to add some flavours to that. So, thinly sliced garlic. Now I've already peeled this garlic, so just thin sliced it one way, thin slice it the other. Give it a little chop up, try not to crush it, just thin sliced. I'm going to use a little bit of ginger that I've pre-washed. Going to leave the skin on, good flavour just under the skin. Again, thin sliced. So the great part about all of these Asian recipes is quite simply, you can do it for 1, 2, 3 or multiples of people just by adding more ingredient. In true Asian cooking, there is no such thing as a set recipe. So I've got maybe half a centimetre of ginger in there, thinly sliced. I've got a clove of garlic in there. I'm going to touch it with a bit of, now we're using light soya because our main flavour is going to come from our tomatoes a bit later on. So, soya in there. Now, I'm just going to give this a little stir up. No real need to work too much of the marinade into our meat because it's all going into the wok and going to be fried together. But it's nice to get a bit of that ginger garlic flavour into our meat. So that's looking good. I'm going to sit that there just for a moment. You don't have to do this the day before, it doesn't take long to marinate. In the meantime, I'm going to turn a wok on. So look, we're going to turn this wok on quite high. We need a bit of heat into this. Readjust the temperature on my rice. So look, you can just cook the rice per the packet instructions. We're doing it in a pot as opposed to a rice cooker. Now, finished with our flour. Beef's there. It's got its marinade into it. First job we're going to do is fry this off. Now you can see our wok is getting really hot, nice and smoky. We are using peanut oil. So just put a drop of peanut oil down the side of the wok so things don't splash. I have some sesame seed oil here. And I'm going to put a drop of sesame seed oil in as well. About a 3-to-1 ratio. So 2/3 peanut oil, 1/3 the sesame. Now, give this a bit of a swirl round. Must be smoking. If it's not smoking, not hot enough. We'll put our beef into the side so we don't splash ourselves and give it a bit of a stir around. So it smells really fragrant at this time. And look, if you're doing it for more people, you may want to do it in batch lots in your wok, depending on how powerful your wok is. So, that's looking good. Pity you guys can't smell this because it smells great. Now, we're just going to move that around and just seal that meat off. What you're listening for is that really high-powered sizzling sound. If you're not getting that high-powered sizzling sound, your wok is quite simply not hot enough. And your meat starts boiling as opposed to stir frying. Now look, my meat is done. I'm going to take it out, scrape the wok, Next job, tin tomatoes. Now, you could use fresh tomatoes, but I honestly think the tin tomatoes are better. So we're using a couple of tins of tin tomatoes, and really this means that all of a sudden our meal is good for 3 or 4 people quite easily. So those tin tomatoes, you just want them to boil a bit. Now this is a beef and ginger tomato dish. So while my beef is sitting here resting for a bit, I need to flavour my tomatoes with a bit of this ginger. So I'm going to thin slice the ginger, thin slice it again. Always best to use fresh ginger as opposed to the powdered stuff. And just pop it straight into the tomatoes. A couple of other ingredients. About a teaspoon of sugar. So that can be done to taste. I can add more sugar in a bit later on. Very hard to take it out. So we'll just put a bit in now to start it. Now these were whole tomatoes in the tin, which means that you do want them to break up a bit. You could use the chopped tomatoes in a tin. The advantage of doing this, the beef first and then the tomatoes, is that quite simply the wok has been flavoured with that garlic, ginger beef, garlic and soya. Now we just want those tomatoes to cook down quite quickly. We're going to add a touch of the light soya to give us our salt. And look, there's lots of other variations of this dish you could do. If you wanted to at some stage, you might say, well, I need to put some greens into this. I'm going to put some onions into it. You could do lots of different things. Now, I do have some shallots here. So look, I might add some of the green part of the shallot in. And to do that, you really want to cut the top section into maybe 2 centimetre lengths. Push them to one side. The bottom part, again on the diagonal, but a lot thinner. Maybe 1 or 2 millimetres. Because you really want to keep the crunch of that and get that onion flavour in there. Now, you can hear my tomatoes boiling quite vigorously, looking good. We've added no other liquid to this apart from what came out of the tin. We've got some ginger in there, we've put some sugar in there. Ginger makes it hot, sugar makes it sweet, and you might say, well look, I want to add a bit of extra chilli into it. So I really like this chilli, which obviously comes from an Asian shop here at Sunnybank somewhere. And look, absolutely stunning. This has got black bean in it as well. So it's chilli and black bean. And funny enough, chilli black bean flavoured with pork. Sensational. Don't need that much of that because the main flavour we want to have is that ginger tomato. So we're looking at hot, sweet flavours going on here. We can put our bottom of our shallots in. Again, I've turned the wok down so it's just gently simmering. We want to keep the lovely greenness of that tomato. My rice is not far off. It only takes about 20 minutes to cook. And look, this is my beef. So all the juices that have come out of the beef that have been sitting in go directly back into the wok. And we're nearly there. So to do this at home takes about 15-20 minutes. The longest thing that takes is your rice to cook. I'm going to turn that up just to get it simmering. Our last ingredient is our shallot tops that we cut into the 2 centimetre lengths, and we're going to let that cook down. In the meantime, check on my rice. Rice is cooked. I put that on a couple of minutes before I started this job here. And now we have to have a bit of a taste test. Yeah? Always taste before you serve up. I have a spoon here. I'll grab a bowl. All I really want to taste is the tomato. And that's going to tell me whether I've got enough sugar in there. Just to take some of the acidness of the tomato. That's perfect. Don't think I'm going to add anything else to this. Happy with that. Beef flavours going through. Now, rice is cooked. We'll get a plate. Sit that on a plate. Now, this is going to be served Asian style, and the fact that we'll put everything onto a platter and then allow people to serve themselves from that. So, even the rice goes onto the platter. Now, this is a really old-fashioned pawpaw's favourite, pawpaw being grandma's. I remember having this as a kid all the time. In fact, I still eat it now because it's a quick, easy, Asian-inspired meal. Rice, beautiful. My wok with my other ingredients in. Looking really good. We use a bit of rice flour to thicken it, so again, it's celiac good. That tomato juice soaks into the rice, and you can see that's a goodly amount there. I use 2 tins of tomatoes, a little bit of beef. Obviously that can be multiplied. I would say that's a good meal, 2 or 3 people easily. Ginger tomatoes, soya beef.